In all fairness to the former president, is that true? Do you have to use a teleprompter when speaking about President Trump? Or are you able to just kind of riff on your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's so stupid. Look at the lame, inane things that he said. He's so stupid, he can't even say anything clever or smooth. He's a moron.
Trump became the unexpected main event of a brutal roast, and no amount of spray tan could hide the burn. The criticism came fast and merciless, led by none other than Robert De Niro, who didn't hold back for a second. His attacks were sharp, personal, and relentless, setting the tone for the night. Then came Jimmy Kimmel, who effortlessly piled on with his own brand of razor-sharp humor, delivering punchlines that hit harder than Trump's latest legal troubles. The audience ate it up, roaring with laughter as the jokes landed one after another. It didn't take long for the internet to explode. Clips from the roast spread like wildfire, with users adding memes, edits, and commentary, making sure the moment was immortalized online. Meanwhile, at Mar-a-Lago, Trump is almost certainly fuming, pacing back and forth, grumbling about washed-up Hollywood elites, while secretly practicing comebacks in the mirror. He can't stand being the punchline, and there's almost no chance he'll stay silent. The best part, watching him try to respond will probably be funnier than the roast itself.
Lincoln got a head start on Halloween yesterday. He showed up for a rally dressed as a garbage man, which I do have to say, the vest really brings out the color of his mouth. He even rode around in a garbage truck.
I don't understand why people are not taking him seriously, because you read about it historically in other countries that they didn't take the people seriously. I think Hitler, Mussolini, they're fools and clowns. Well, and I hear it, there's some people, I mean, who does not think that this guy is going to do exactly what he says he's going to do?
Right.
He's done it already.
Right.
And then what? We're going to sit around and say, what? We told you so? Or whoever, I told you so? It's going to happen. If he gets elected, it's going to change.
Trump has long believed that the press was out to get him, but nothing could have prepared him for what happened when Robert De Niro and Jimmy Kimmel joined forces like a tag team wrestling match produced by Hollywood's biggest studios. This wasn't just a few harmless jabs. It was a full-scale comedic demolition. Every joke hit with precision. Every punchline landed harder than the last. And by the end, there was nothing left standing except the stage they performed on. It was relentless, unforgiving, and brilliantly executed. Trump, who is usually quick to fire back at criticism, found himself on the receiving end of a comedy beatdown so thorough that even his biggest supporters had to pretend not to see it. If he thought the media was tough on him before, this was a whole new level of public humiliation. And the best part? It was just getting started.
Between you people, don't talk to me that way. You're just a lightweight. Don't talk to me that way. Don't talk to. I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way. Go ahead, take the. Well, I'll give you voters. I will give you voter suppression. You just have to sit down, please. Sit down. I didn't call you. I didn't call you. I didn't call you. Okay, question? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. She's shocked that I picked her.
No.
It's like in a state of shock.
Kimmel knew this roast needed extra firepower, so he brought in the ultimate enforcer, De Niro. The moment De Niro stepped onto the stage, the crowd erupted in cheers, fully aware that this wasn't going to be just another lighthearted celebrity roast. People understood what was about to happen. When a man legendary for playing mob bosses, no-nonsense tough guys, and hardened old-school characters joins forces with a sharp-witted late-night host, it's guaranteed to get brutal. De Niro wasn't there to play nice. He didn't come for small jabs or clever wordplay. He came to unleash years of built-up frustration, delivering a no-holds-barred verbal beatdown that had the audience on the edge of their seats, laughing and gasping in equal measure. This wasn't just a roast, it was a reckoning, and Trump, watching from Mar-a-Lago, likely knew he had just been hit with something he couldn't ignore.
It's a scary one, and in all seriousness, and we know it here, people have to get out and vote and vote and vote and vote.
Yeah. One time each. Do you think he pretends to be dumber than he is to confuse people and make them think, no, you think he's...
No.
I don't think so.
The first joke landed with impact, like a Hollywood gut punch. De Niro, never one to soften a blow, went straight for Trump's obsession with looking powerful while avoiding anything truly difficult. The crowd erupted in laughter, the kind that fills a room and takes a moment to settle. Even Kimmel, a seasoned pro at handling live comedy, had to pause and let the wave of amusement roll through before continuing. And how could he not? De Niro had just hit Trump where it hurt, mocking the man who brags about strength and dominance but needed 2 hands just to lift a water glass. It was a perfect takedown, not just funny, but embarrassingly accurate. And from that moment on, the roast had officially turned into a full-scale comedic beatdown.
He wants to punch people in the face. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face.
Just when it seemed De Niro had completely dismantled Trump, Kimmel stepped in with a finishing blow so sharp it felt straight out of a Scorsese film. With perfect comedic timing, Kimmel painted a hilariously vivid picture of Trump's inevitable meltdown. He described him sitting at Mar-a-Lago, face red with anger, furiously scrolling through his phone, his fingers jabbing at the screen as he tried to type an all-caps rant. The audience was already in hysterics, but Kimmel wasn't done. He took it a step further, imagining Trump pausing mid-rage only to bark orders at his staff. Somebody block De Niro on Truth Social right now. The joke landed perfectly, blending Trump's fragile ego, his obsession with social media, and his well-documented inability to handle criticism. At this point, the roast had become a spectacle. What started as a few pointed jokes had turned into a relentless comedy onslaught, and Trump, watching from a distance, was undoubtedly losing his mind.
In the first week of a criminal trial, the first president to be on trial for a criminal offense for paying hush money to a pornographic film star. He was in court all day Monday. He was all day yesterday. Today he had a day off. And how did he spend that? Brunch with Melania? No. Maybe a catch with Barron in the yard? No. Santa Claus got up bright and early to post 165 venomous words about yours truly.
The room buzzed with electricity as De Niro, Hollywood's ultimate tough guy, delivered blow after blow to Trump. This wasn't just another late-night joke or routine political jab. It was personal. No politician, journalist, or comedian could tear into Trump the way De Niro did. His words didn't just feel like sharp comedy. They felt like genuine, long-standing resentment finally unleashed. That raw energy made the moment even more powerful, even more unforgettable. Online, chaos erupted instantly. Trump supporters on Twitter AX scrambled to respond, unsure whether to call De Niro irrelevant or accuse him of being part of a vast Hollywood conspiracy. The problem, they couldn't even find a bad De Niro movie to use against him. Meanwhile, Trump predictably lost it. While De Niro and Kimmel reveled in their success, Trump was almost certainly storming through Mar-a-Lago, ranting to anyone who would listen. The only question was how he'd respond. Would he attack De Niro's acting, despite the fact that De Niro is one of the most decorated actors in history? Would he shrug off Kimmel, dismissing him as just another Hollywood liberal? Would he claim that the entertainment industry was jealous of his success? A hilariously ironic statement coming from a guy whose movie career peaked with a 2-second cameo in Home Alone 2. Or, perhaps the funniest possibility, would he accidentally quote De Niro while trying to insult him? No matter how it played out, one thing was certain: the roast was a massive hit, and the world was watching. Memes flooded social media, jokes spread like wildfire, and the internet ensured that this moment wasn't going away anytime soon. And as for the flight incident, it was obvious Trump would react. His biggest weakness isn't just being criticized, it's being upstaged, especially when he wasn't even part of the conversation in the first place. And right now, the spotlight was completely off of him, and he couldn't stand it.
Kimmel's a loser. We would do Jimmy Kimmel. I'd do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot.
Yeah.
He used to greet me on the sidewalk outside of his studio. I'd come in. This was before politics, of course. But I'd come in, and he'd be standing on the sidewalk. "Oh, sir, may I bring you in?" He'd bring me in every time. And then I ran for politics. I never, got involved with him much. But all they do is talk bad about Trump. That's all. The whole show is talking bad about Trump.
He is a ridiculous
For a man who always insists on having the last word, the brief silence was deafening. Was Trump actually speechless for once? The world waited, watching, refreshing their feeds, expecting the inevitable all-caps rant to hit the internet at any moment. But for a brief, almost eerie moment, nothing happened. Maybe his advisors were desperately hoping he'd let this one slide. Maybe they were whispering in his ear, urging him to just ignore it and move on. Maybe, just maybe, Trump himself was struggling to figure out how to spin this in his favor. But predictably, he couldn't help himself. Soon enough, the furious tapping of keys filled the air, and like clockwork, a rage-fueled post appeared online. It was exactly what everyone expected, a long, ranting tirade filled with insults, exaggerations, and the usual claims of victimhood. He called De Niro overrated and Kimmel weak, throwing in his usual complaint that the entire thing was so unfair. But this time, Trump decided to take things a step further. He declared himself a film critic, ignoring the fact that movies like Raging Bull, The Godfather Part 2, and The Irishman are widely considered cinematic masterpieces. Trump, whose greatest connection to Hollywood is his brief cameo in Home Alone 2, confidently declared that De Niro's films were bad and that Hollywood was a disaster. Did he actually watch these movies? Unlikely. Did that stop him from acting like he was the final authority on cinema? Not for a second.
Trump is just a master of comedic comments.
Talk show hosts, are they great, or do we need to make them great again and kind of go one by one here?
Oh, he's
So
terrible. He's
great or great again, Jimmy Kimmel?
Well, he's not. He's not. First of all, they all have bad ratings. The one that's the most successful is Greg.
Who?
Greg Gutfeld. So Jimmy Kimmel, we got to make him great again.
Jimmy Kimmel's a loser. Look, all they do is talk bad about Trump. That's all. The whole show is talking bad about Trump. Yeah. They're all equally bad.
The internet took the joke and turned it into a full-blown spectacle. Side-by-side comparisons flooded social media, showcasing one man's legendary career versus another's blink-and-you'll-miss-it cameo. On one side, there were iconic, career-defining movie moments, unforgettable performances that shaped Hollywood. On the other, a brief, awkward appearance in Home Alone 2, where the most memorable part was pointing a kid toward the elevator. The contrast was brutal. The internet made sure of that. But this wasn't just a moment. It was a movement. The roast didn't die down after a few laughs. It snowballed into a cultural event. What started as a sharp joke had turned into a days-long battle, one that refused to fade away. And then it escalated even further. The next act of this ongoing feud unfolded at a lavish Hollywood event, a place where the elite gathered, dressed in their finest, sipping champagne under bright lights. But the real show wasn't the red carpet. It was what happened on stage. Someone, a bold, unfiltered voice, stood in front of a massive crowd and, without hesitation, delivered an even harsher blow. The insults weren't just cutting, they were absolutely ruthless, spoken with the unshakable confidence of someone who knew they were already winning. The audience erupted in cheers, cameras flashed, and as the laughter filled the room, somewhere far away, Trump was seething. The fight wasn't over, it was only beginning.
A day when I was on the prime time of Fox and you were on the prime time of CNN, a couple of hours after our shows ended, late night comics would come on, and they occasionally would make us laugh, Pierce. As you know, they've abandoned that game now, and they're just political operatives out there.
It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare, for our climate. It was a terrible night for poor people, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't...
Just get over it.
Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel kept the fire burning on Jimmy Kimmel Live, refusing to let the moment fade. He kicked off his show by immediately addressing Trump's furious meltdown over the roast. With his signature grin, Kimmel announced to the audience that they had officially gotten under Trump's skin. Then came the highlight. He played a hilarious video montage of Trump's angry all-caps rants on Truth Social, complete with dramatic music and a fake narrator reading them in a serious news voice. The audience roared with laughter, but Kimmel didn't stop there. He brought out a movie critic to do a side-by-side comparison of Trump's Hollywood career versus De Niro's. The results were brutal. On one side, De Niro, an Oscar-winning legend, the star of some of the greatest films ever made. On the other, Trump, best known for pretending to fire Meatloaf on The Apprentice and awkwardly delivering lines in the bizarre, barely remembered film Ghosts Can't Do It. Kimmel drove the point home with a final punchline. One of these men won an Oscar, the other played himself in a Christmas movie, and somehow still made it unbelievable. The audience erupted in laughter, knowing that no amount of Truth Social rants could undo the reality of the comparison. De Niro was the undeniable center of attention, Kimmel was at the top of his game, and somewhere in Mar-a-Lago, Trump was likely still angrily typing away, adding more fuel to the fire he so desperately wanted to put out.
You and I have something in common. We have both been immortalized on social media by our former president, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We have, I think this might have been the first time he wrote about you. Robert De Niro, a very low IQ individual, has received he spelled two wrong, many shots to the head by real boxers in movies. I watched him last night, truly believe he may be punch drunk, and then he says, at the end, he says, wake up.
At first, it seemed like just one brutal roast, a one-night takedown of Trump by De Niro and Kimmel. But Hollywood thrives on drama, and this was too good to let go. Almost instantly, the moment took on a life of its own, morphing into what felt like a never-ending sequel series. More Fast and Furious than a one-time event. Once clips hit the internet, celebrities lined up to join in. Everyone wanted a piece of the joke, and suddenly, it wasn't just a roast anymore. It was an entertainment movement. The idea of a full-scale anti-Trump comedy show started gaining traction, with some joking that at this rate, they might need an arena like Madison Square Garden to fit the lineup. Late-night hosts wasted no time escalating the feud. Stephen Colbert dedicated an entire episode to analyzing Trump's meltdown, breaking it down like a political scandal, zooming in on every detail of his Truth Social rant with the seriousness of an FBI investigation. Seth Meyers took it even further. He acted out Trump's angry tweets as if they were Shakespearean monologues, complete with dramatic lighting, orchestral music, and theatrical hand gestures. And then, musicians got involved. A remix of De Niro's speech quickly became a viral dance track, blending his cutting insults with a pulsing beat and catchy hooks. Soon, TikTok users were dancing to lines about Trump's failures, making the roast not just a joke, but an actual hit song. What started as one night of comedy had exploded into something much bigger. Trump wanted this to go away. Instead, Hollywood had turned it into a full-blown entertainment event.
For the Academy Awards, I said how he's the worst host in the history of the Academy Awards, and this stupid guy goes up, and just before the Best Picture of the Year, the show is almost over. They're waiting for the Best Picture of the Year. He gets up, and he says, and his wife said, please don't do it. Please, darling, don't go out. His manager said, don't do it. I have to do it. He goes out and reads my truth to the entire audience right before the prime time, the Best Picture. And it said, basically, he is the worst host in the history. He reads the whole thing. And then I think he said something like, ha, 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 he thinks he bothers me, or some crap like that. I said, he's one of the dumbest human beings ever. He should have listened to his wife. What a dope.
As expected, Trump didn't try to de-escalate. He didn't take a step back, regroup, or let the moment pass. Instead, he doubled down, making everything worse. In a rapid-fire flurry of posts, he managed to insult Hollywood, attack the press, and take cheap shots at De Niro's movies, all in one breath. He even veered off topic, ranting about something completely unrelated before looping back into another furious tirade. For a man who insists he doesn't care about celebrity opinions, he was putting in a lot of effort to prove otherwise. At this point, it was unclear if De Niro and Kimmel would even bother responding. They didn't have to. Trump's overreaction was already doing the work for them. De Niro, ever the seasoned performer, didn't need to say a word. At a high-profile event, cameras captured him grinning confidently, as if he knew he had already won. Kimmel, on the other hand, was already plotting his next move. A follow-up segment was in the works, because when Trump hands you comedy material on a silver platter, you don't waste it. But the truth was, Trump was now fighting himself. Everyone knows he never lets things go. He holds on to grudges like a child clutching a cookie, refusing to share. He can't just move on. It's not in his nature. So the question isn't if he'll retaliate, but when, and just how ridiculous his next move will be.
I laugh when people say, oh, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. If you're a reasonable person, you should have Trump derangement syndrome. Right. And by the way, I think he has derangement syndrome about us, too. The fact of the matter is, this is a dangerous person. this is a stupid person, and that's a
Who knows what Trump will say next? Maybe he'll rant once again about Hollywood being full of washed-up failures, conveniently forgetting that he built his brand as a reality TV host and spent years begging for celebrity approval. Or maybe he'll try to one-up De Niro, claiming that he too was offered a major movie role but heroically turned it down because he was too busy saving America. And if we're really lucky, he might even bless us with another bizarre nickname, since his last attempt wasn't exactly his best work. Meanwhile, Saturday Night Live is already buzzing with rumors. Imagine the setup: De Niro making a surprise cameo, playing the ultimate tough guy, while Alec Baldwin steps back into his legendary Trump impression. The skit practically writes itself. Trump pacing around, fuming, throwing ketchup at the walls, angrily typing into his phone, while Melania sighs in the background. If that happens, Trump might go nuclear and send out legal threats, demanding they shut it down. Because as we all know, nothing says secure and confident like trying to sue a comedy show. And then there's Jimmy Kimmel, who definitely isn't letting this go. Right now, his writers are hard at work, crafting another segment, preparing new punchlines, and making sure this Trump versus De Niro saga continues for at least another week. The funniest part? De Niro doesn't even have to do anything. Just his name alone is enough to send Trump into a full-blown meltdown.
The protest of Robert De Niro yesterday is a fool. He's a broken down fool standing out there, and he got.
The internet, especially Twitter/X, is now a non-stop meme factory, churning out wild predictions and hilarious reactions to the feud. People are guessing what will happen next. Will De Niro completely ignore Trump, letting his silence drive him even more insane? Or will he deliver one final devastating punchline, the kind that sticks with Trump forever? One thing is certain, this fight is far from over. With Trump, these things never end quietly. He thrives on conflict, chaos, and being the center of attention, even when he's being mocked mercilessly. Right now, everyone is watching, waiting for the next absurd chapter in this bizarre mix of Hollywood and politics, and hoping Trump will just drop it and move on. That's like expecting a cat to love swimming. It's just not going to happen.
got a review, and has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less than average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopanopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous. Blah, blah, blah. Make America great again.
Bobby, it's your favorite president. I forgive you, Bobby, for being such a loser about the election. It's not your fault you were born with a low IQ. It's not your fault, Bobby. Believe me. Bobby, your favorite president won. Kamala lost. She lost so strongly. You were wrong. You're a loser. You're a total loser. This show sucks. You're going to get low ratings, Bobby. You're going to get low ratings. Look at that, from Raging Bull to...
Trump lives for conflict. He loves a fight, and now that De Niro and Kimmel have taken shots at him, with millions of people watching, there's no way he'll just walk away. He'll try to fire back, but let's be honest, he'll probably mess it up. Rumors are already swirling about SNL, and if they're planning something big, Trump's meltdown is basically guaranteed. Imagine it, De Niro making a surprise cameo, delivering serious mob boss lines in his signature tough guy style, while a Trump impersonator flails around, complaining about Hollywood elites, fake movies, and some bizarre conspiracy about De Niro being jealous of him. If that happens, Trump won't even wait for the show to end before rage posting. He'll be on Truth Social mid-sketch, furiously typing out an all-caps rant about how unfair late-night TV is, and how his cameo in Home Alone 2 was way more impactful than anything De Niro has ever done. And Kimmel, he's just getting started. This is comedy gold, and he knows it. His writers are working overtime, crafting new segments, making sure Trump never escapes the punchlines. And of course, Trump will watch every second of it, getting angrier with each joke before rushing to his phone to fire off another meltdown. Meanwhile, the internet is having the time of its life. Jokes, memes, edited clips of Trump and Goodfellas. Twitter X is a never-ending flood of mockery. And the best part, everyone knows this isn't over, because with Trump, the story never really ends. It just keeps getting crazier.